2, 1. Keep pushing. In this lap. You can do it. It's 4.7 seconds. 5.6 seconds. It's a one of a kind. Only in the DTM. Yes, man, you did it. Thank you, guys. Go, 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 go. Yeah!
Hello and welcome from a very windy, chilly and cloudy Zandvoort in the Netherlands. Yesterday we had a lot of sunshine, it was hot. Today we've got different weather conditions. And yesterday obviously in the race it was all about BMW with the 7 best cars being BMW. But one man who really mixed things up yesterday was Gary Paffett, because you were the fastest Mercedes in P5 and you were pushing really hard. It was a very interesting duel. In the end, unfortunately, you lost that duel and it was game over for you. But despite that fact, did you still have some positive feedback about yesterday?
Yeah, the car was very strong. As you say, we were the only one really able to fight with the BMWs yesterday. Today, in qualifying, was very close again. But I feel good with the car, and I hope we can get close to them again and have a good fight at the front. You know, we've got good long run pace, and we just have to do the best we can.
So you're starting from P9 today, so let's see how hard you're going to push. Thank you very much. Best of luck for the race. And now let's have a look at the summary of race 1 from yesterday. Dave?
Thank you very much, Verena. Yes, race 1 yesterday, well, it was all about BMW, and it was going to end up all about BMW as well. Marco Wittmann and Augusto Farfus. It was Augusto Farfus on pole, but Marco Wittmann, it was going into turn 1 that was going to be in the lead. And look at that bold and ambitious move from Antonio Felix da Costa as Gary Paffett tried to go around the outside of the Tarzan box. Wasn't going to happen, but it was a valiant effort nonetheless. Paul ending up in the wall. So that was a safety car out, and Marco Wittmann then in the Ice Watch BMW, of course, the current champion. His best showing, not a good showing for Martin Tomczyk, unfortunately, with brake issues for him. Eduardo Mortara in the Castrol Edge Audi was also another one of those drivers that we lost. So it's all about Wittmann and Antonio Felix da Costa, who was looking good. Gary Paffett, the best of the rest to show, ahead of Jamie Green, as you can see there. Pascal Wehrlein makes a move on Christian Vittoris, which wasn't such a difficult overtake for him. See it there in replay, and then we see the retirement of Robert Wickens. That's Pascal Wehrlein being passed by Adrian Tombe and also Christian Vittoris. Matthias Ekstrom was the next to get involved in that little battle as well, as Wehrlein had made his way past Vittoris once again. Antonio Felix da Costa was taking the chase to Marco Wittmann, as beached was Jamie Green, and this is how it happened. He just got a couple of wheels out onto the grass, and from there on in, he was a spinning passenger. This was one of Antonio Felix da Costa's moves on Marco Wittmann. None of them were going to work in the end, but by Jiminy, he was certainly trying. It was the best showing we'd seen from Antonio Felix da Costa. And this was Gary Paffett, who was going to have a go at Augusto Farfus, just gets a touch. Actually says he wasn't going for the overtake. He was just trying to keep with him, and that saw the end for Gary Paffett in the Mercedes-Benz. But no mistaking, Marco Wittmann taking victory from Antonio Felix da Costa, Maxime Martin, and then a whole host of BMWs to follow. In fact, the top 7 places going the way of BMW. As you can see, there is the graphic, and with the winner of yesterday's race, Marco Wittmann, is with Verena.
Yeah, Marco Wittmann is back. The first victory for BMW in the season, your first victory. That is absolutely fantastic. And again, today, 4 BMWs in the first 4 places. Does that give you a really good feeling that BMW is so incredibly strong here in Zandvoort?
I mean, definitely the track fits our BMWs. Yesterday we showed a strong performance, and today we are in the first 2 rows, so that's actually very, very positive. And now it's time to score even some more points today. Would be great to finish on a high and then try to get some good points. Maybe a podium would be nice.
I'm sure you're going to push really hard from P4. Best of luck. Thank you very much, Marco Wittmann. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Verena. So, Marco Wittmann, Mega Marco is back as we see him walking away there. The race about to get underway. Of course, the longer race of the 2 races that now feature on the DTM. Alongside me is David Addison, who will help me with the grid. Antonio Felix da Costa and Bruno Spengler lock out the front row.
The second row of the grid. All about BMW. Augusto Farfus lines up 3rd. Yesterday's winner, Marco Wittmann, is 4th.
Then we see Miguel Molina in Audi and Pascal Wehrlein, Mercedes-Benz, P5 and P6.
The next row of the grid, Timo Glock's BMW and the rapid Mercedes of Danny Juncadella.
There we see Gary Paffett with P9 and Christian Vitouris as 2 Mercedes together there.
Next comes Maxime Martin on the podium yesterday, but only 11th. Edo Mortara retired yesterday. He will start 12th.
Martin Tomczyk goes from P13. He has Maximilian Goetz for company on P14.
Robert Wickens had a win at the Norris Ring. He's got to dig deep here, but even deeper to dig, Matthias Ekström, who was out of the points yesterday.
Adrian Tombe is P17. Our championship leader is going from P18.
Behind Jamie Green, Mike Rockenfeller, and then Nico Müller. Their Audis 19th and 20th.
21st and 22nd on the grid go the way of Tom Blomqvist and Timo Schott.
And to cap a dreadful weekend for Paul di Resta, he's 23rd. Lucas Auer is 24th after being given a 5-place grid drop for blocking in qualifying. Let's go down to the grid and join our pole man with Verena.
Yes, here I am with Antonio Felix da Costa. Now, it was your best result yesterday, 2nd place, and today you're the pole setter. Absolutely fantastic. However, yesterday you were the hunter, and today you're the hunted. Are you a little bit nervous about that?
Not nervous. I mean, the start is always one of the most heated moments of the race, so just try and get a clean one and see what happens after turn 1 and manage the race from there. Hopefully we can stay in front and then just relax and take care of the tires and go forwards.
All right, then thank you so much. Best of luck. I'm going to wait for that, him relaxing in there. All right, well, best of luck for him, obviously, and he seems pretty chilled. So back to you guys.
Chilled and relaxed. Yep, Antonio Felix da Costa. As we look back now, and I made this point, and I really laboured it, I think, David, in our grid look. Jamie Green leads the championship, going from 15.
He really struggled in qualifying, and he's carrying 1130 kilos as the weight on the car, but he's one of 9 drivers with that weight.
Yes.
Based on previous results, one of whom, Pascal Wehrlein, lines up 6th on the grid, so you can't level it all at the weight, although you could argue certain cars carry it better than others. Matthias Ekström is another driver with 1130 kilos. He has struggled all weekend, and he's only 1 row up on Jamie Green. Remember, Jamie leads the championship, Ekström 2nd, and 3rd is Wehrlein. So those 2 Audis have got a lot of work to do, even to get in the points, never mind get good points out of this. Matthias Ekström yesterday struggled and couldn't get in the points. Jamie Green was in the points but went off the road. He became Jamie Bunker rather than Jamie Green because he was stuck in the gravel, and therefore points went begging yesterday, didn't they?
Yes, they did. Okay, Robert Wickens we see there going from P15 for the Canadian. Now, the weather conditions today, and Verena mentioned this at the top of the program, very, very different to what we had yesterday. And the one question I want to ask you is, because it is now very windy, and the wind in the last hour or so, is that really going to affect the aero of these cars?
It could well do. It depends really where the wind, the direction of the wind. If it's a crosswind going into a corner, it will have a certain effect on the aero. Not perhaps as bad as on a single-seater, but you know, the wind is picking up all the time. Look in the background of Martin Tomczyk there. The flags are flying. The other thing that it might do, bearing in mind we're by the seaside, is it blows sand from the dunes onto the track, so the grip levels can change lap to lap, corner to corner.
So just when you think you've got a corner sussed and you know the line around it, the grip that you find next time around may be different.
Just a tiny, tiny film of sand, but it's enough to just unsettle the car ever so slightly.
Christian Vitouris we're looking at there. Christian Vitouris going from P10 on the grid in his Mercedes. And Christian Vitouris involved in a battle with Pascal Wehrlein yesterday, which eventually Pascal Wehrlein won that little battle between the 2 of them. Vitouris, of course, has had success. And, well, there's the Brit, Gary Paffett, who has got work to do from where he is, P9 on the grid. But Gary Paffett will be giving it everything he possibly can, that's for sure. And we saw And a valiant effort, but a valiant effort that was going to fail in the end. Let's hope for better from Gary Paffett today. And there is the Zandvoort circuit in all its glory next to the beach. And what today will be a very cold North Sea. And here is the grid then that we've been through already. Felix da Costa and Spengler and Farfus and Wittmann and Molliner, Wehrlein, Glock, Junkerdea, Paffett, Vitoris, Martin and Eduardo Mortara occupying the first 6 rows with Tomczyk, Gertz, Wickens, Ekstrom, Tombe, Green, Rockenfeller, Muller, Blomqvist, Scheider, De Resta and Auer right at the very, very back. So this is something that we said yesterday. It's a very old school circuit with gravel traps, not a lot of runoff area, and therefore it's a track that the drivers really seem to love, but it's a difficult track to get the absolute best out of, isn't it? It's a very abrasive surface. There's lots going for it. There's lots to take away from it as well. And it can bite you, sorry.
Indeed. In terms of tyres, you're right. It is the most abrasive circuit on the calendar for the DTM. Because it is an old, traditional circuit, it's not that wide. You know, cars have got wider. Racing cars have grown in width over the years. Zandvoort is not the widest of circuits, and that means that overtaking is not that easy. There are places where you can do it. We've seen in the support races this weekend, drivers bold and brave enough to force the issue. The obvious place is at the end of the pit straight. Trouble is, there's really only one line in there, and if you cover that line by way of defending, it's very hard for anybody to go by. Don't forget the DTM cars have DRS, and the pit straight is one of those areas where you can use the DRS if you're within a second of the car ahead, and that DRS gives you an extra 7 kilometers an hour, so it does pay dividends.
Okay, well, I wonder what Audi's strategy is going to be today. DT Gas is with Verena now.
Yep, he's Audi is having a tough time at the moment. The story seems to continue today. And what it also seems is that talented drivers still can't really make up for the weight disadvantage. Do you have a good strategy for today?
We hope so, yes, but I don't think you can blame everything on the weight. The BMW is very strong here. We're trying to fight, but it's definitely going to be complicated today.
But I'm sure it's going to be exciting anyway. Thank you so much. Best of luck. Back to you.
Thanks, Verena. So DT Gas then with his views as Molliner there, and there is Marco Wittmann. Of course, dominant last season, champion last season as well. He is the current champion, Marco Wittmann, and that is his Ice Watch BMW going from P4 today. And what can he do from there? Certainly looked very good yesterday, but he was pushed all the way by Antonio Felix da Costa, who is going from pole position today. So it's going to be very interesting. Augusto Farfus promised much, didn't quite deliver.
It was a sluggish start. It wasn't a dreadful start, but it was not as good as his teammates. Let's go back to the grid and rejoin Verena.
Here with Ulrich Fritz. Now, yesterday in the qualifying, you had a bit of problems with Paul Di Resta yesterday, and today in the qualifying, you were struggling again a little bit. So, what are you hoping for today for the race?
Yeah, I would say we showed the true performance of the car today in qualifying. I think it was incredibly tough and quite small gaps between the first and the last cars as well. So yeah, I think maybe there is a possibility via strategy. Yeah, we'll see. Overtaking is incredibly tough here. That's what we saw yesterday. Yeah, then we need to make the best out of it and gain as many positions as we can.
And are you kind of hoping for rain? I mean, the weather conditions here are unpredictable. Do you think that might help you if it rains? Who knows?
Yeah, I think in the end it will be then a kind of a gambling. Nobody knows who it helps and whom. So yeah, we'll see.
All right. Best of luck. Thank you very much, and back to you.
Thanks, Verena. Now you can really hear the wind on Verena's microphone there, David.
The word has now been used, strategy. It's worth bearing in mind as you look at the way the championship stands after yesterday. Jamie Green 11 points up on Matthias Ekstrom. That this is the longer race. It's 1 hour plus a lap, and it is the race with the mandatory pit stop.
Yeah.
You can do a maximum of 27 laps on a set of tyres. So some very crude maths takes me to a window of between 12 and 27 laps, depending on whether you want to stop at the beginning or the end of that window. But it could be that the teams elect to run as close to 27 laps at the start of the race as they can, because then they'll have a better take on whether they're going to need to change onto another set of slick tyres or wet tyres if the weather has changed.
Right.
The danger is that if you come in very early in the window, put on another set of dry tyres and have to come back in and go onto wets because it might rain, you've wasted a pit stop effectively.
Right. On our way over here, you know, There's plenty of cloud around. I just wonder whether, because the wind is so vibrant at the moment, whether that's actually blowing any potential away, rather than equally it could be blowing bad weather in.
I mean, certainly the naysayers have been telling us that it was going to be wet today, and it hasn't really developed yet. I think we're going to get away with it, but we will see. But certainly it is much cooler than yesterday, and it is much, much windier than we had yesterday in terms of the conditions. So the cars now are released onto this green flag lap, and last opportunity to get some warmth into the Hankook tyres. This is how the grid looks, remember, with each of the 4 BMW teams having one of its cars in the top 4 places on the grid. So it's all worked out beautifully, hasn't it, for the 4 teams?
Has rather.
They're all represented up at the pointy end. It's Antonio Felix da Costa's first DTM pole. It is Schnitzer's first pole since Hockenheim at the end of 2013. So a couple of milestones there. And there is the pole man threading his way around the mid part of this circuit. Handers, 10 right-handers, 25 gear changes a lap.
Now, with the track conditions as they are, it's cooler. That's going to help the longevity of the tyre, isn't it? If someone does want to go long in terms of where they leave it until they come in the window, I don't think that, the abrasive nature of the circuit hasn't changed, of course, but the track temperature has, and I think that's going to help the longevity of the tyre, isn't it?
Should do, unless you pick up bits of sand on it, and therefore they end up with this sort of film of grit, which we'll have to wait and see really how they are being affected. There's the lap itself. It's 4.3 kilometres, fastest part really going down towards the Tarzan hairpin, where you get up to round about 153 miles an hour before you stand on the brakes and go down into the hairpin, and that is where, plus the extra 7 kilometres an hour from the DRS, you've got a real chance of overtaking. Antonio Felix da Costa then yesterday gave energetic chase to Marco Wittmann. He crawled all over him, couldn't find a way by. Great battle between those two, and so now Antonio Felix da Costa, who splits his time half of the year between DTM and Formula E, totally different types of racing, is going to be very keen to convert pole position into the race lead. In theory, it should be doable. It's a staggered grid, and obviously pole is on the racing line where there is more grip, but Augusto Farfus got it wrong from there yesterday and didn't get away all that cleanly, and in one of the Formula 3 races of the weekend the same has happened. The man on the inside of the road, even though a length back, has been able to take the advantage. So the pressure is on da Costa as he tries to get the warmth into the tyres, snaking his way up towards the grid. So he's got Spengler with him at the front, then it's Farfus and Wittmann.
Okay, main nice and slow. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, stop.
The team there guiding him up to the white line.
So then Felix da Costa then is brought into line. You could just see how much rubber had been burned down there and lain down there to try and assist with that grip at the very, very start as the rest of the cars come into pack here. As always, we go into the garage. Test the anxiety level, if you like. First of all, it's Jens Marquardt for BMW. Then we see Dieter Gas and Wolfgang Ulrich for Audi. And Uli Fritz for Mercedes-Benz. And we await the green flag from the marshal at the rear of the grid. For this, the longer of the 2 DTM races that feature every single DTM weekend now. There goes the green flag. The lights you can see the middle of your screen as the last of the personnel make their way off the track. The red lights come on, the engine note rises, so too does the level of anticipation for this. As Antonio Felix da Costa gets a brilliant start, Bruno Spengler seems to bog down a little bit. Augusto Farfus run alongside Marco Wittmann. The slow one away from there was Bruno Spengler. Timo Glock trying to make a move as well. Antonio Felix da Costa got it all perfectly sewn up.
And Spengler defending from Farfus has stacked everybody up behind him, so da Costa has gone. Spengler is still second, but look at Juncker Daya. He's made a good start, and he's trying to go around the outside there as they get to the Gerlach down towards the Hugenholz corner. So you've got Spengler second, Farfus third, Wittmann is fourth. In fifth place is Molina by the look of it. Sixth is Juncker Daya, and then in seventh spot is Glock. But da Costa is trying to build the advantage, and this is Glock's view.
So there is a race leader going through, Antonio Felix da Costa, who got that start absolutely nailed. Gary Paffett still hanging it on the outside, trying to make progress as well. Here come the 1, 2, 3 then, and sparks fly as the cars bottom out on this undulating circuit here at Zandvoort. There's Adrian Tombe together there with Maximilian Goertz. The cars weave their way round. And Antonio Felix da Costa then leading this race from Bruno Spengler, Augusto Farfus, then as Marco Wittmann, yesterday's winner.
And Wittmann made a good start, but the trouble was that everywhere he went, Spengler went as well to defend, and that's kind of how Farfus managed to get past Wittmann, even though he was on the outside of the road, and there's a bit of leaning going on there. I think he's being squeezed as they go through the Audi S. There was a BMW up the inside of him. So Robert Wickens finding life a bit tough early on. Here they come up towards the end of the opening lap of the race. Antonio Felix da Costa is trying to get away, but he's taking the BMW quartet with him, isn't he? It's BMWs 1, 2, 3, 4 over the line. Da Costa, Spengler, then it's Farfus, then it's Wittmann. In 5th spot, Molina. 6th is Juncker going strongly. 7th is Glock. Tomczyk is 8th. 9th is Wehrlein, and 10th is Gary Paffett. And there's contact there. Look, one of the BMWs being forced out wide, and that is Maxime Martin, who was being lent on as they went round Tarzan. And Martin is now down in penultimate place, and I suspect that car's got damage. It may well be a pit corner because that will have affected the aero. It was Mortara that made the move, wasn't it? Up on the inside, there was contact there as he came through, and then more from Tombe. And I think he is over now.
Yes, I think you're right. So I think he will be bringing that car into the pit lane. So there is our race leader, Antonio Felix da Costa, then with Bruno Spengler right behind. Man that's looking very, very racy out there is Gary Paffett as well. We go on board with Timo Glock. Gary Paffett running down in P10. Pascal Wehrlein is P9. Tomczyk P8. And Glock, who we were with, P7.
And how the championship drivers getting on. Ekstrom is still down in 17th. Jamie Green is down in 19th place. So those teams are going to have to be really clever on the pit stops, aren't they? AB Sportsline is the team for Ekstrom. Jamie Green drives for the Rosberg team, but they need to think of something clever to roll the dice to try and get those two cars up the order and score points. Over the timing line, Da Costa to Spengler is 4/10. Spengler having just lapped quicker. Farfus runs 3rd. Fastest lap of the race done by Wehrlein, who is in 9th. Glock, and he's staring at the back of Juncker.
Well, Antonio Felix da Costa has not got away, has he? Look at them, they're all in a line, all together. So no further action in the incident between Adrien Tombe and Maxime Martin that we saw just a few moments ago. Then we go back on board with Timo Glock. Two different angles of seeing him at work in his car then. Timo Glock currently running down there in P7, the all-yellow BMW that you can see there tucked in behind Danny Juncker, who's running in P6.
So Bruno Spengler on the podium at the Norris ring for 3rd. He runs 2nd. Trouble is, Spengler now, he's trying to defend from Farfus, isn't he? The two of them are together. Augusto Farfus for the home team, the Dutch RBM team, right on the back of Spengler now. The Shell Helix car, the yellow, orange and white car is that of Augusto Farfus, and he's looking for a way through up one spot, and that means that Da Costa can think about building an advantage now. He can get away up the road. This is Wehrlein's view. He runs 9th, just in the points, but he's got Gary Paffett right up behind him. Has done the absolute best first sector on this lap, so the Brit means business.
Yes, I think so, and he takes quite a lot of curb there, doesn't he? Really rattles the Mercedes-Benz. He's got Pascal Wehrlein ahead of him. It was a brilliant splitter cam that we were able to bring you from Pascal Wehrlein, staring at the back of the Martin Tomczyk car. Martin Tomczyk, of course, having to retire that car yesterday, so he'll be hoping for a good result, running in P8 at the moment, and he's gone from P13 to P8. As they all scream across the timing line once again.
Timo Glock given the instruction that DRS is now enabled. He's close enough to Danny Juncker to use it if he can find a gap. It's all very well having that extra 7 kilometers an hour in a straight line, but if you can't find the room to exploit it, then you're still going to be stuck behind. And you heard people saying pre-race, overtaking not that easy around here. Da Costa's got them all stacked up behind him. He's not really escaping up the road, is he?
No, far from it.
So we are, I think, going to have some of the shuffling of the places done on. Also have seen, an example came just a couple of laps ago with Maxime Martin, that even if you rub past the opposition in a car like this, you risk doing so much damage because of the little aero flicks and tweaks that are on these cars. It's not like other touring car categories where you can be pretty robust. Jamie Green goes through in the orange Audi. He's still down in 17th place. In fact, ahead of him is Matthias Ekstrom, who's just done the absolute best first sector. So the Red Bull Audi up onto the back of Max Gert's Mercedes. This is Glock.
So we go on board with Timo Glock, and look at those two different angles as Timo Glock works that BMW in P7 at the moment. There's race leader P2, 3, 4, 5, 6 go through. Then we see Timo Glock. Christian Vitoris tucked in behind Gary Paffett, gaggle of Mercedes-Benz there because Robert Wickens in there as well. Let's get a replay of the start here.
Lights out, Da Costa floors it, but look at Spengler. He's slow away, so he goes one way to defend Wittmann. Farfus comes up, and therefore the gap that Wittmann wanted to go through on the other side has disappeared. Spengler and Farfus run. stuck behind Spengler, loses out to Farfus. It goes around the outside of him. 3 wide in the mid-pack. Gary Paffett, again, really brave, swooping around on the outside there to gain ground. And Paul de Resta taking to the dirt just ahead of Lucas Auer at the back of the pack. Very different expressions to Dowdy.
Hans-Jürgen had to put his hand over his eyes.
Absolutely. Danny Junqueira there, look around the outside of Molina, and Tomczyk giving a bit of a rub to Junqueira on the inside as they work their way around the right at Tarzan. And Timo Glock also trying to gain places on that first few corners. Junqueira, very brave there, wasn't he? Right round the outside, gaining places. Outside for one corner, becomes the inside for the next. But Antonio Felix da Costa it is, who is not only leading, but he's getting away slightly. 2 tenths up, he is in the first sector of this lap. Delight at BMW, though, because it is a BMW first, second, third, and fourth at the moment. There you go. The real winner so far is Tomczyk, up 5 spots from the grid. Junqueira up 2, Robert Wickens up 3 as well.
And those that have gone down, Wehrlein and Paffett. But da Costa leads then, as you say, by some 4 tenths. And big down is Maxime Martin, of course, right at the bottom of that graphic on the left-hand side of your screen.
But he kind of got shoulder barged out of the way, didn't he? So it's frustrating for the Belgian driver as the leaders work their way once more towards the end of the lap. So this is going to be the end of lap 5 of a projected 39 brackets-ish, closed brackets. Dependent on whether he gets safety cars or not, that will diminish. Over the timing line they come. 4 tenths last time, da Costa to Spengler. It's up to 6 tenths of a second now.
But there's no real packs developing, David. They're all together, aren't they? You know, the pace is all very, very similar, and that's surely brought about by the fact that Antonio Felix da Costa is setting the pace of this race. All right, it's increased the gap back to Spengler now by another couple of tenths, but they're still all together.
And we've had this all weekend, you know, in terms of practice, qualifying, race, lap and thousands, not tenths, not full seconds. It is incredibly tight. The leaders swoop their way into view once more, and da Costa, I would suggest, is just edging away, but all it takes is one slightly fluffed braking point, and they're all going to queue back up behind him. The real difficulty here, and you watch Maxime Martin moving up past Lucas Auer, and that's not without a bit of leaning either, is it? As the BMW gets up the inside of the Mercedes. Maxime Martin having been rather robustly moved out of the way earlier, trying to do it to others, I think, there. But Lucas Auer stays ahead. In fact, he's on the inside for the next corner. Maxime Martin, not normally somebody that leans on other cars like that, and actually it didn't pay off for him. He's still stuck behind Lucas Auer. The real hard part for the drivers now is going to be to gain places without the pit stops, and they can only benefit so much on that one opportunity in the pit. So they do need to try, especially for those that are out of the points, to force the issue on track.
And the point you made earlier with regards to the DRS assist that they have, it's all very well, but isn't necessarily going to gift you an opportunity to go past, is it? You've still got to find a way past.
Yeah, I mean, anybody worth their salt in this will defend that inside line all the way down to Tarzan, and the outside line is the longer and slower, so it's not really the ideal place to be. It's possible, but it's not ideal. The race order remains the same. Da Costa, Spengler, Farfus, Wittmann, Moreno, Junqueira going strongly in the top 6, isn't he, the Spanish driver?
Now, if anything, where the gap is coming and where the gaggle, if you like, is coming is after Tombe in P14 and Ekstrom P15. That's where a gap is opening up, I think. And so Matthias Ekstrom is at the queue of that second pack, if you like, at the front of that second pack in P15.
And Ekstrom, one of the heavy 9 with 1130 kilos on board, is struggling, it seems, at the moment to stay with Tombe. However, because they're from the same manufacturer, it could be that as we get to the second part of the race and we see how people have won stops, that 1 or 2 strategic calls come into play to help those with a better championship chance to move up the order.
And that's the gap I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Go back on board with Timo Glock, P7. And from both the angles and that graphic there shows you what gear, the revs, and also the kilometers per hour that he's pulling around this Zandvoort circuit here. Great to see Timo Glock at work in that BMW. The Danny Junqueira car, you can just see through the windscreen ahead.
You can't even talk about him with the steering wheel, can you? It's not really a full wheel, it's more like a controller, like a joystick virtually, because you've just got a left and a right to hang on to. You've got the paddle shift behind it, you've got the buttons there as well to make adjustments if needs be. The lights come on to give you the revs to change up the gears. Over the timing line goes Timo Glock, running 7th. He's 6 tenths back on Junqueira. He closes a little bit under braking for Tarzan. Of course, the other problem is you get into the dirty airflow because of the aero that's created by these cars, and then life becomes Indeed. And here's Maxime Martin having another go at Lucas Auer. DRS enabled, I suspect, as he went up the inside. He gets the car speed, and this time that's a good clean move. He goes ahead of Lucas Auer. Trouble is, it's for 23rd place. Whoopie-doo.
Yeah, so Maxime Martin and Lucas Auer running down there P23 and 24. Maxime Martin we had seen being barged out, I think it's fair to say, and his race practically over now, isn't it? He's running right at the very, very back with Lucas Auer running right at the very, very front, but still not able to eke out a huge gap over Bruno Spengler. It's seesawing a little bit because Spengler brought 10th back last time around. They're at 5/10. Robert Wickens there.
Down in 12th out of the points, isn't he?
Yeah.
But he's ahead of this man, Edo Mortara. Best first sector of the race just been done by Miguel Molina. So in 5th place, the leading Audi trying to play catch-up. Looking back from Robert Wickens' car. You see the rear wing flap around as he tries to use the DRS to get him up onto the back. Now Pascal Wehrlein, 3rd in the championship, 9th at the moment, which is where he got to yesterday. And he, in turn, is also struggling to make much more progress. Now 13th, 14th and 15th, all Audis there. Mortara, Tombe and the man that's second in the championship, Ekstrom. Elevating him ahead of the two won't get him into the points, but it will get him nearer to the points. The leaders go by. Tombe looking a bit more racy against Mortara now, isn't he?
And Ekstrom just seemingly pulling away from Max Goertz a bit more than he had been. There's Tombe going through, and now there is Matthias Ekstrom, who seems to be reeling Tombe in a bit now.
Yes.
Whether he's, whether DRS will be, assisting, of course, but they're in super slow replay. The Spengler and Antonio Felix da Costa car, joined by Augusto Farfus, then the 1, 2, 3 at the moment in the race.
So the BMWs lock out the top 4, but they're not all up there like yesterday, are they?
No.
Partly because of qualifying, but you've got Blomqvist down in 19th in this race and struggling to make progress at the moment. Mike Rockenfeller's had a pretty dreadful day, hasn't he? And he is still down in 18th spot as well in his Audi, former champion, one of 8 champions that we have on the grid. On board with the championship leader then, Jamie Green. And Jamie going after Max Goertz. There they are, Mercedes of Goertz moving to the DTM from GT cars for this year. Jamie Green, former Mercedes DTM racer, Euro Series Formula 3 champion years back, inching up onto the back of him, but he's stuck behind Goertz. Goertz is losing touch with Ekstrom, so in real terms, Jamie Green is falling away as well.
Yeah, so he's being harmed by that, and Jamie Green is going to have to try and find a way past, but that's going to be very, very difficult. DRS deployed right now as Jamie Green tries to inch to the back of Maximilian Goertz. He's nothing like anywhere close enough to be able to do anything into Tarzan.
And look how bumpy it is as well. Jamie being thrown around inside the car, closing up onto the back of Goertz. Then as they work their way through Tarzan, there goes Ekstrom up the road, but even Ekstrom is still only 15th. We've got 45 minutes plus a lap of the race to go. We're on lap number 10. And those that came here looking good in the championship have had a very poor weekend, and this could be a real crunch point of the championship campaign. Results turned on their heads. Not everybody is finding this race as captivating as others.
No. So back on board with Jamie Green. So championship leader who has Maximilian Goertz ahead of him.
There's no doubting Jamie's focus, is there, at the moment?
Absolutely not. So there he is in the all-orange Audi.
That's the part of the circuit you went off at yesterday. Look behind, Blomqvist having a go at Rockenfeller now. Mike's got a bit stuck behind Jamie, so Tom Blom tries his arm now way by, but actually drops back a little bit after that next corner. Got close, dirty air, falls away. Jamie Green having to think about defending from Mike Rockenfeller. That's not really in the game plan.
No, it isn't. And of course, the more he has to think about doing that defensive job means he's not going to be attacking Maximilian Goertz ahead of him.
But it's still one long line, isn't it?
It is one.
If you accept the troubled Maxime Martin from earlier on and the delayed Lucas Auer, the first 22 covered by 13.5 seconds last time. It's just one line of cars.
Yes.
Replay there of Tomczyk trying to make a move. Maxime Martin early on with Adrian Tombe. Well, they came to blows, as we know. You can see bits of bodywork go flying. And not so big bits as well. And Martin also had his skirmish with Lucas Auer a couple of laps later. The lead gap is still only half a second, so Antonio Felix da Costa there heading up towards Hunsrück is the leader, but it's not a massive gap, far from it. Now Wehrlein is looking a bit more racy versus Tomczyk. Next one to look for. And now, as we approach the end of lap number 11, mechanics getting ready for pit stops. But I think Wehrlein is now starting to think about where he can make his move against Martin Tomczyk, and that would in turn put him up into 8th place if he can do it.
Let's go on board with him now then. That fantastic splitter cam from the Pascal Wehrlein Mercedes-Benz, hounding the Martin Tomczyk BMW ahead. It's a battle for P8 that we're watching at the moment as the cars come into focus there. There is number 77. That's Martin Tomczyk. 94 is Pascal Wehrlein right behind him. And Pascal Wehrlein has Gary Paffett behind him. So that little battle that is going on for P8. Ahead of them is Timo Glock. And there from the high shot, you can see there that Pascal Wehrlein's certainly thinking about where and if he can make a move on that Martin Tomczyk car. So the Audi really are ready now. The blankets come off the tyres. Who's it going to be that comes in? Well, we go on board with Jamie Green. We go on board with Timo Glock. Jamie Green it is that's in.
And Timo Glock as well. So 11 laps done. Leader goes on to lap 12. Window slightly earlier than I'd expected it to be, only by a lap. And the instruction comes to push, push, push. Old tyres off Jamie Green's car, new tyres on. And Timo Glock being instructed to try and get ahead of Junqueira. Now, by being out of the traffic, they can do qualifying tight laps, can't they?
Yes. Well, it's a strategy which only time will tell if it pays off, coming in so very early. We've seen in Jamie Green and Timo Glock. Now, there hasn't been a whole gaggle that have followed that initiative, David. It's only been those two.
But it gets them out of traffic. That's the key for doing it.
Yes.
The other option is you window if the tyres permit, because then you can try and see what the weather is doing.
Yes.
Of course, if you're Da Costa and you come in now, you rejoin in traffic, so he might well have to stay out to the very end, but we'll see what the teams elect to do. They all have the GPS system that allows you to see where other cars are around the lap. A pit stop is 22.5 seconds, so they'll be able to work out from that where that would put you. And at the moment, the whole field is covered by 22.
Yes.
So at the moment, you pit, you go to the back of the field, and in theory, you're away from traffic anyway. Spengler is in this time. At the end of lap 12, Spengler comes in, Wittmann is in. Also, you've got Molina, you've got Junqueira. They're all pouring in. Tomczyk's in, Wehrlein's in, Mortara is in. There's Junqueira. New boots on. Spengler's away. And there's contact between Wittmann and Molina as they go down the pit lane. Look at Glock, though. He's just benefited on the pit stops. No argument about that. And Marco Wittmann stays ahead of Molina, but Timo Glock has really come out on top out of that, hasn't he? Because he's got himself now between Spengler and Wittmann.
That is position. Use the DRS. That is position. You made up a load of places. Good job.
Listening to you, David. Absolutely right. So get on it, Timo Glock. Pulling him in early was the right thing to do.
And we need to see also where Jamie Green will haul himself up to by the end of this pit window. At the moment, those two came over the line 23rd and 24th, of course. Now have a look at this. You've got Spengler on the move. Wait for Molina to go because he and Wittmann get together. Now Molina comes out ahead, but then Wittmann overtakes him and they lean on each other. I wonder whether that might be a referral to the stewards for that. We'll wait and see. But it out, and there, look, Junqueira falling out of the pit lane behind Mortara. Junqueira, I think, has come off badly on the pit stops as now the leader is in, and look how Farfus has been able to close up without the traffic ahead. He was able to get right onto the tail of the race leader. So the top two now come in. That will put Gary Paffett into the lead of the race. Yet to stop, Dave.
Okay, we put the graphic up there so you can see Antonio Felix da Costa is in the pit lane. There's Bruno Spengler coming around that final turn right now.
Racing other car out of the pit. Bruno racing da Costa. Farfus out of the pit.
So here comes Antonio Felix da Costa. Where is Bruno Spengler? Just coming into view there. So both da Costa and Farfus ahead of Spengler. So Farfus is the big winner there.
Farfus gains 1 place on Spengler. Absolutely right. But Timo Glock, in real terms at the moment, is in 4th. And he was, what, in 7th place before the pit stop. So Glock is the overall big winner at the moment. They're in the yellow BMW look.
We know it's the left rear and the left focus and just look after the left rear and the left-hand side. Use the DRS to maintain the gap and look after the tyres.
Farfus, though, is stuck behind Lucas Auer.
Yes.
Auer has yet to stop. It's a kind of genuine battle on the track, but Da Costa is benefiting from all of this, and Lucas Auer is holding up the entire pack. The more he does this, the more Antonio Felix Da Costa is going to be able to take the win, because nobody else is going to be able to get close.
So Lucas Auer then is the cork here as Augusto Farfus dives up the inside of Lucas Auer, and Bruno Spengler is going to hope to make that move as well.
So through goes Farfus. Here comes Spengler. Auer's already had a telling off for blocking in qualifying against the BMW. Spengler goes through, and Timo Glock tries to go round the outside, and he can't do it going into the Audi S. He in turn is being caught by Wittmann, and then you've got Miguel Molina closing right up as well. So Gary Paffett is in out of the race lead. That's going to put Da Costa back up front. I'll run through. Stop. You've got Adrian Tombay in as well. In the background, Tom Blomqvist is in. So that leaves Gertz, Rockenfeller, Muller and Scheider yet to stop.
Problem. That's a long stop for the Paffett car, 8.9 seconds.
And Lucas Auer losing out to Timo Glock, and Molina's snapping at the heels of Marco Wittmann now as well. Some have really won on the pit stops, and look, Ekstrom and Jamie Green are a bit closer to the pack. Paffett is the big loser. That slow stop by Paffett has cost him dear. Marco Wittmann in traffic, and he wants to get past Auer. He's also trying to defend from Molina. There is Juncker lining up to have a go at Edo Mortara. That fight at the moment is for 20th overall. So yet to stop, you've got Gertz, Rockenfeller, Müller and Scheider and Maxime Martin.
Getting past Lucas Auer, and now, well, you can see just how much pressure that Marco Wittmann is under there.
Definite contact, wasn't it, from Molina? They've already touched in the pit lane, for which there's been no report, incidentally, offered to us on the message line of the screens that we have. And there Martin Tomczyk trying to get in on the act as well. Great gaggle of cars pouring through. Wehrlein is on the move, isn't he now? Look, Pascal Wehrlein trying to get past Tomczyk.
He is all over the back of Martin Tomczyk as they're all stacked up behind that Lucas Auer car. We go on board with Pascal Wehrlein. And there is Lucas Auer. There's Marco Wittmann. Then it's Molina. And on board with Wehrlein, that splitter cam that we can bring you as Wehrlein just takes a look at the inside of the Tarzan box. He's going to go for it. Not carrying as much speed as Tomczyk. It's
Don't forget, Wehrlein's car is heavier as well. It's one of the 9 that carry 1130 kilos.
Look up to the tyres.
Timo Glock's team very concerned about tyre preservation. Yet again, the message comes through, but Lucas Auer here holding up everybody. Auer is running 9th on the road. He has yet to stop, and those ahead are disappearing into the distance as Wittmann tries to find a way by. Auer is being lapped. He is sort of racing with them. Trouble is, he's yet to make a pit stop, so he's out of sequence. But his pace, relative to those around him, is really hindering. Wittmann up the inside. Are they going to make contact? Yes, they do, and round goes Lucas Auer. At least that's got him out of the way, you could argue, but what it almost does is give Molina a chance to get into the act as well. Tomczyk gets into the back of him, and there's bodywork all over the road now. Molina gets forced. Molina forced out wide. You've got Christian Vittoris in on the act as well now. He's got himself ahead of Wehrlein, which wasn't in the game plan. Problem going into the Audi S. He loses 3 spots. Wickens is behind him. Tombay's up the inside of Wickens. Wickens on the dirt. Juncker on the outside of Tombay coming into the Kumo box. And Ekstrom and Green and Paffett are on the tail end of this as well. Apologies for the indistinct team radio. Martin Tomczyk trying to report what's happened to him, but across the line, Antonio Felix Da Costa is only 4 tenths up, and Tomczyk has slowed right down in the middle of the pack.
I thought he was going to be collected.
I suspect he did as well. They've got away with that, and Tomczyk suddenly slowed. You can see the damage on the front. But Martin Tomczyk's weekend has come to an end. Suddenly the car just lost performance altogether, didn't it? Everybody able to jink round him. I think maybe as the bodywork came up, he just had to lift. But either way, Tomczyk going no further. Now, try and pick out the battles of all of this at the moment. the road. Da Costa and Farfus are fighting for the race lead, with Spengler going after them and Glock fourth. And then there's a second wave, nearly 5 seconds back. The delayed Wittmann, the delayed Molina, the delayed Wehrlein, who's got himself back up ahead of Vitoris. So this was the trigger. Wittmann up the inside. Auer rather robustly turfed out of the way. And then Tomczyk here gets into the back look of Molina.
Yes, and you can see bits of bodywork flailing all over the place there. That's what did for Tomczyk.
And in the concertina effect, Vitoris got into the back of Wehrlein and then nipped up the inside and got past him. Although that's been redressed, they've switched back again. So Lucas Auer is the cork in the bottle, and there, look, the bodywork starts to lift on Tomczyk's car, and because he can't see, because it's a left-hand drive, he has to lift, and that's where it all scattered behind him. So I think it was Tomczyk just having to slow down because he couldn't see where he was going as the bodywork lifted in front of him.
Well, under investigation, the incident between car number 1 and car number 22, that's Lucas Auer and Marco Wittmann, of course.
There is, with the race director, a driving standards advisor, Manuel Reuter, filling that role this weekend, and they'll have a look at the evidence between them and decide whether there's any penalty that needs to be given. And Martin Tomczyk's day is done, isn't it? He's pulled off the circuit on the cut-through. That's not to fear about a safety car necessarily, because that is on the link road that takes one side of the straight to the other. It's the short circuit route, and so Tomczyk is out of the race. Now, what's that done for Jamie Green? Well, he's still down in 18th place. We've still got the leading 4 yet to make a pit stop.
And therefore, the leader actually at the moment is,
in real terms, Da Costa.
Yes.
But we've had a change on track significantly. Mike Rockenfeller has just got himself past Max Goertz. There are the other 2 that have yet to stop, Nico Müller and then Timo Scheider. So this is battle.
Yes.
You've got Da Costa versus Farfus, with then behind them, look, you can see Spengler inching up and Timo Glock, and that shows you how Glock benefited on the pit stops. Paffett's got himself ahead of Jamie Green now for 18th place.
So next up for Gary Paffett, he has Robert Wickens ahead of him, so having got past Jamie Green, and this is how he did it. Jamie Green about to turn in and saw that the Mercedes was there.
Good clean move, you see, though, no contact required. Yeah. You can do it. So Gary Paffett trying to force his way through yet again. Of course, the bad luck goes Gary's way with that bad pit stop. The team rather contributing to that rather than Gary, of course, as there you see Spengler closing up onto the back of Farfus. So yesterday Da Costa was the hunter. Today he's the hunted, because he's got Augusto Farfus right up behind him. And then 3rd and 4th, Spengler and Glock.
So no further action between the incident between Lucas Auer, that man, and also Marco Wittmann. So Auer is in and Auer is on his way out.
And that's going to put him then down into last place for the moment. Mike Rockenfeller is leading, a pit stop 22.5 seconds. He would rejoin were he to stop now in 19th place, which is sort of where he was before the pit stop. So by staying out a long time, he's not really benefiting. That is Timo Glock's view. Now Glock, in real terms, 4th. Ignore the top 4 in the classification when you see it on the screen, because they have yet to make a pit stop and of course will fall down to the tune of 22 to 23 seconds. So this, running 5, 6, 7, 8 on the track, is the real race that's going on. And once again, it's this BMW blitzkrieg, isn't it, at the front of the field. The 4 BMWs working their way over the timing line. We have still got 29.5 minutes of the race plus. There is Maxime Martin, who is down in 22nd spot after being nerfed off the road earlier on. He has also made his pit stop and therefore drops down the order.
And this a slow-mo of Maxime Martin then into the pit lane. So Antonio Felix Da Costa, Augusto Farfus, Bruno Spengler, Timo Glock, then Wittmann, Molina, and there is Wehrlein on the back of Molina. And go on board that splitter cam of Pascal Wehrlein's car.
I'll tell you somebody else, Dave, that's lost out on the pit stops. We know that Marco Wittmann's lost a couple of places, but Danny Juncker-Deya, he has dropped quite a long way down. He is now running behind Tombe. He's down in 14th place. He was in the top 6 before. Now, OK, you take these 4 out of the equation that have still to stop. Juncker-Deya has still lost a lot of ground on the pit stops. So that's 2 Mercedes drivers we know of suffering in the pits, Juncker-Deya and Paffett. Gary Paffett for ART, Junqueira for the Mucca team. And so now Miguel Molina keeping at bay Pascal Wehrlein and Vitoris and Tombé and Junqueira and Mortara and then Ekstrom. So that group takes you all the way down to 16th place on the road. Martin Tomczyk walking back, frustrated as Marco Wittmann, frustrated with Lucas Auer, goes through. But you see the damage that it has done him by being stuck there, because Wittmann now is nearly 5 seconds adrift of the leading group. Mike Rockenfeller has just pitted, so back to lead the race on the road, Max Goetz.
So there is former champion Mike Rockenfeller in. It's going to be a textbook stop. Indeed it is. Look at that, 2.9 seconds. That's what can be done when you look at an 8+ seconds, which we saw live for Gary Paffett. That made all the difference, didn't it?
And he rejoins ahead of Robert Wickens, so 18th. Mike Rockenfeller and Jamie Green side of Wickens, and he seizes the opportunity. Elbows his way by. Here comes Paul di Resta to get past the Mercedes as well. So Robert Wickens there loses a couple of spots. Jamie Green had to try something. He tried it. The contact was there, but it's gained him 1 place on the road.
And now Robert Wickens going to have to defend from that man, Tom Blomqvist, that we can see right behind in the BMW. Here's Pascal Wehrlein having a go at Molina here. And he's going to muscle his way through, but with the... they do get just a little bit sideways, and Molina squeezes him out. Vitoris is in there as well.
It's certainly one of the more physical races, this, isn't it?
A bit.
You can sense
I think it's frustration,
I was about
isn't
to
it?
use the word. Yeah, you can sense that people... Junqueira has stopped. Yellow flags on track. Danny Junqueira has stopped on the road. And I reckon that could be a safety car to get that out of the way. Marshall's trackside. We may have a safety car here. We'll keep you posted as Goetz leads the way. Muller and Scheider behind him. Look, I mean, keeping them out like this is becoming largely irrelevant because their tyres are past their best. They're being caught by the leaders anyway, and any advantage they'd gained is about to be negated, I fear, under the safety car if we get to that point. And Junqueira's got going again.
Wow,
so that helps in that respect, but curious, what was all that about? Was there contact? Yes, potentially. Eduardo Mortara up the inside. Whoops, whoops, whoops. Wow. A big, big launch for Junqueira.
He did well to hold on to that, you know. I thought that was going barrier bound.
Absolutely, I think he did. Look at that. That'll get replayed time and time again, that bit, won't it? Because that was a massive moment for Danny Junqueira. You're hard on the power, accelerating all the time on that section. And contact and airborne and not much runoff. Here it is again. It goes Mortara. And Junqueira gets fired off to the right. Mortara has pitted after that contact. Junqueira is soldiering on back to the pit lane, I fear. So Mortara's weekend is done. Damage to the car.
Well, that little incident that we've just seen, which involved the high-flying Danny Junqueira, that's also under investigation now as well. But it has done for both of them, it looks like, as Junqueira is into the pit lane as well.
Yes, the first thing he's going to do is go and sort out his laundry. The second is find out what damage has been done to the car, because that was a massive, massive moment, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. And I still maintain he did jolly well to keep it at the barrier.
Yes. So it'll have damaged the aero, it could potentially have damaged the suspension and the floor of the car. This is the man that leads at the moment, Max Goetz, but he's yet to stop. But he and Nico Müller are being reeled in all the time. Leads by just 1/5 of a second from Augusto Farfus. So there is Goetz, there is Müller in the background, and there's the real lead battle, which is Da Costa, Farfus, Spengler is there as well, and Timo Glock. It's almost on the back of them. And Marco Wittmann, let's look at his lap times, because Wittmann is lapping fractionally quicker than those ahead of him. So he's getting there slowly but surely onto the back of the other BMWs.
Well, Wehrlein and Vitoris both having passed Molina. Now there is Pascal Wehrlein. The Mercedes, now they've been released from the clutches of that Audi, are on their way up the road and looking much quicker, aren't they?
Did I just see a puff of smoke from the back of Vitoris's car?
You might have done.
Might just be as the car bottoms and the bodywork sits on the tyre. There is Molina having a big lock-up at Tarzan.
That's how they got through, wasn't it?
Elbows out again, look.
Oh, and they were really out that time, weren't they? Molina was out on the gravel.
And Vitoris through as well. I'll say it again, it's one of the races we've had this year. And the frustration is palpable, isn't it, as drivers desperately want to get through, and it's just a narrow circuit, so if you don't make the opportunity, I mean, there is a gap there, but it kind of closes on Wehrlein, but he is coming through. Meantime, Max Goertz stays out to lead the race. In has just come Nico Müller, so he will tumble down the order. There he is, the Audi. And Mortara and Juncker are being reported to the stewards. Can't say I'm hugely surprised about that.
No. So clock on Nico Müller, 3.5 seconds. We're watching these teams undertake their pit stops earlier, and well-oiled machines. Most of the time is out in a, well, blaze of smoke goes Robert Wickens.
I fear he's had an assist in that, but we'll wait and see. He's got it going again. It's past its best, that's for sure.
Rather.
Massive, massive annoyance from Wickens as he lights up the rubber and gets going again. Now, who was he running with? Blomqvist.
He just kept his foot in and he wasn't going to release it, was he?
It doesn't need any comment, that, does it? I mean, that was a Blomqvist shove. And Robert Wickens, as you rightly say, just kept his foot to the boards. But, yeah, I think Tom has a case to answer, to say the least, there.
Well.
Oh, guess what? It's under investigation, that incident. Cool, Lummy, you'd have thought that. So there's the leading quartet, and Da Costa can't shake off Farfus, can he?
No. So Antonio Felix Da Costa, Augusto Farfus, Bruno Spengler, Timo Glock all together there in a gaggle as at last Maximilian Goertz does come into the pit lane. So now on track we do have the real lead, don't we, with Antonio Felix Da Costa, Augusto Farfus, Bruno Spengler, and then it is Timo Glock, Marco Wittmann and Pascal Wehrlein.
But Wittmann is lapping quicker than the leading four. He will be up with them by the end of the race. Whether he can then gain ground remains to be seen. A drive-through penalty is being given for Tom Blomqvist for causing a collision. Didn't take long to get that judgment, did it? So there you've got Nico Müller, incidentally, who gets ahead of Max Goertz on the pit stops. He was stuck behind him, but the Audi ahead of the Mercedes. So another relatively poorish stop by Mercedes, because it's cost another driver a position. I know we're down in the 20s by this stage, but even so, it's a driver that's lost out on the stops. Meantime, BMW. Da Costa, Spengler. They're in third place, looking for a way by Farfus. Timo Glock still there in fourth, and Marco Wittmann is chipping away behind them. Wittmann lapping quicker in sectors, quicker on. But what can Timo Glock do to find a way past Bruno Spengler, who of course is run out of the same team, the M-Tech BMWs. It's Schnitzer ahead of RBM, ahead of the two M-Tech cars, ahead of an RMG car at the moment. Da Costa still under pressure. Danny Juncker out of the race, but with Verena.
Yes, very unfortunate for you. What exactly happened in the incident that you went flying?
Well, I didn't really see because I was fighting with some of the guys in the previous corner in turn 3, and then as soon as we got to the fast section, I saw Mortara was behind me, and I tried to give him some space, but he just touched me and drove me away off the track, and yeah, not much I can do.
Unfortunate. Thank you very much. Back to you guys.
Thank you very much for getting hold of Danny Juncker then. For a fly, didn't he? And there, serving his drive-through penalty is car number 31, Tom Blomqvist. Drive-through penalty for causing an avoidable collision. That, of course, with Robert Wickens, and lo and behold, he comes out right behind him.
Exactly. So take two now. He's got to get past him again, hasn't he?
Yeah. I think if ever Wickens can make a Mercedes wide, it will be now, won't it?
Absolutely. But you also see that a drive-through penalty is sort of the right punishment, because it puts him back behind the man that he turfed around.
Yes, of course. What it doesn't do is doesn't help Wickens, does it?
It doesn't, but it redresses the order if nothing else. So yeah, Robert has lost a lot of time against Maxime Martin, who is up into 18th place now after his dramas early on. There is the leading four. Spengler in third, just dropping away a fraction from Farfus, who for the moment is the man most likely to.
Absolutely. He's really, really keeping with Antonio Felix Da Costa. Whatever Da Costa has got, it's not enough. Farfus is staying with him. There is Bruno Spengler then running in P3, and Timo Glock in P4, and then the hard-charging Marco Wittmann, who is still lapping a bit quicker.
He is, and he's creeping up there. Something else I was going to mention, and this has happened because of pit stops and because of incidents as well, but Matthias Ekström is 8th. He's got himself into the points. Now, Pascal Wehrlein is 6th, and Jamie Green is down in 13th and out of the points, but Ekström has just got on with the job and he's chipped away, and what he has done is put himself up into 8th spot and therefore in the points. His next target is Vitoris, who is 4 tenths up the road, and then Wehrlein a further 4 tenths up the road, so he could make some more progress before the end if he's brave.
We have exactly 18 minutes remaining. The pit lane ranking you can see on the left-hand side of your screen. Ironically, it was Blomqvist that was quickest in the pit stops. So, Da Costa, Farfus, Spengler. And Farfus, for my money, is really with Antonio Felix Da Costa. But of course, you know, again, it's all BMWs together here. And, you know, looking at it from a manufacturer's point of view, as we go on board with Jamie Green, who's running down there in P13.
There's the Green and Di Resta battle. That's for 13th place. Jamie Green defending from the Mercedes. Yeah, BMW don't want their cars ending up in a heap, do they?
Exactly. They want 4, don't they, to finish in those 4 and 5 places if we include Wittmann in that as well, and they don't want them squabbling amongst themselves. But equally, everyone wants the honour of the win, don't they?
If Farfus can pressure a mistake out of Da Costa, then that's fair game, isn't it? And that's what he's trying to do at the moment. Put the pressure on the race leader. The gap's down to 3 tenths of a second. Jamie Green goes through. There is Wehrlein. Look in the background. You've got Ekström going over the timing line, chasing after Christian Vitoris. And he's only 3 tenths of a second away as they come down to the braking zone now. Vitoris will not go away from really, suggesting that he's almost got a quicker car, but Wehrlein better placed in the championship, therefore needs the points. But what is happening is that Ekström is virtually with them.
Yes, and Ekström is going to have to find a way past 2 Mercedes-Benz, isn't he? So there is Matthias Ekström, who, as you say, has just quietly got about the job, hasn't he? And very workmanlike, has pulled himself up into the points. He's P8. There is Christian Vitoris, who's running P7, and Pascal Wehrlein ahead of him clearly is P6. So Wehrlein, Vitoris, and Matthias Ekström. Just wonder whether Wehrlein is just pulling away a little bit now, and Vitoris realising the fact that he's got Ekström and Tombe behind.
I would suggest that he's pulling away because Vitoris is starting to stack up Ekström,
yes,
in order to let the other Mercedes buy some track space. Ekström, don't forget, is in the best placed Audi, 8th. Not great for Audi this weekend. Timo Glock's view is still the back of Bruno Spengler up the road, looking at the back of Da Costa, but now Ekström, I think he's going to have to work very hard to get past Vitoris, who is playing the team game.
So we stay on board with Timo Glock then, who is running in P4. Looking at the back end of Bruno Spengler, as he has done so for a number of laps now. Very nearly into the final quarter now of this race. Antonio Felix Da Costa leading. And let's go down into the pit lane with Verena.
I'm here with Edo Mortara. Now, Edo, you had really bad luck yesterday. Couldn't complete the race, and today, same story again, this time with Wickens. What exactly happened?
I mean, it was with John Cadella. I mean, yesterday, okay, maybe bad luck, but today was a contact, and yeah, I mean, I had a few race moments, race contacts, and that was a little bit unfortunate with Daniel. I mean, we went side a pretty fast part, and tried as much as I can to avoid him, and unfortunately we had a very light contact, and he had to cross the grass, and my tire was again, I had again a puncture. So.
Very unfortunate. Thank you very much, Edo. I guess that's a weekend to forget for him. Back to you.
I think you're probably right there, Verena. Weekend to forget for Edo Mortara.
Got a yellow flag out on track, and looking to see who it is. Green flag now comes out, so the yellow goes in. Whoever it was has got going again. We'll try and piece it all together in a moment, looking at slow sector times. I might get a replay whatever the incident was, but briefly a yellow flag came out. The leaders come up over the timing line, and it's still Da Costa from Farfus as they come through. There is Wittmann chasing on in the background, but all that ground lost when he got stuck behind Lucas Auer, which is only for a couple of laps.
Yes.
Glock right on the back of Spengler as they dive into Tarzan. Tombe has a look at Vitoris. Ekstrom has got past Vitoris, so that puts him up now into 7th place, Matthias Ekstrom. And this goes to show how good a DTM driver he is.
Yes, you're right.
He knows how to do the job, he knows how to gain places, and he knows never to give up.
10 laps to go, Pascal, 10 laps.
So it's 10 laps that Pascal Wehrlein and all the other drivers have to go, and Pascal Wehrlein's going to have Matthias Ekstrom for company very, very soon, isn't he?
Yeah. Lap time's relatively slow compared to yesterday. 34s, 35s, they're lapping in. Slower than the pace of yesterday's race. Ekstrom then hunting down the Mercedes ahead. There you've got Tombe showing a good turn of speed. He's in the points as well, but only just. Tombe is 9th and Gary Paffett is there in 10th and Mike Rockenfeller 11th. So he's actually worked his way up in this second stint, hasn't he? Let's go back down to the pit lane and catch up with Martin Tomczyk.
Martin, now you were doing pretty well, you know, pushing really hard, overtaking, and I think quite a few spaces you picked up there. But then all of a sudden, after your first pit stop, a lot of bad luck.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, 5 places in the first 3 corners is not that bad. I was right behind Timo Glock, and he's actually on the 4th position, so it's even more shame that I had to retire. But after the pit stop, there was quite a mess out there because Lucas Auer, he holds quite a lot of cars down. In lap time, he was approximately 1.5 seconds slower. And when you try to overtake and 5 cars come together, I got a push from the back. I got on Molina, and then my bonnet got loose, and I lost it on the straight. Fortunately, nothing more happened on the straight because it was pretty tight. I saw on television. So, but actually, it's a shame because you drive off out there and you don't get any result. Nevertheless, for BMW, it does not look that bad. So I keep my fingers crossed for them.
Thank you very much, Martin. And back to you guys.
Thanks, Verena. He drove his bottom off.
He did.
It was the top off that he lost.
Yes, exactly right. and team player saying the right things for the brand, isn't he? Although Tomczyk, like yesterday, is not part of this success. He's at least pleased for the manufacturer. Top 4, and they're running together. I mean, so evenly matched.
Well, as you say, they are very, very evenly matched, aren't they? We have Antonio Felix da Costa, then it's Augusto Farfus, Bruno Spengler, Timo Glock and Marco Wittmann, the top 5 before we see the Mercedes-Benz of Pascal Wehrlein, P6, and the Audi of Matthias Ekstrom, P7, just coming into shot now.
If you take the 2 radio messages that we've heard from BMW and Mercedes about the number of laps to go, they differ, which is intriguing. We heard them in real time. So there's Ekstrom. He's the next one to look for because he is creeping up onto the back of Wehrlein, isn't he? This is for 6th place. And don't forget that they are 3rd Wehrlein and 2nd Ekstrom in the championship.
Minus half to Bruno, plus 3 to Marco. And there's a gap.
So Timo Glock's engineers getting laps and minutes a bit mixed up, but Timo Glock still pushing on hard. He's in 4th place, best we've seen of him this year.
Yeah, it's good showing from Timo, isn't it?
And a lot of that was done by clever strategy.
Yes.
Get him in early, out of the traffic, qualifying lap pace, bang, up the order he goes. Farfus frustrated, sitting there in 2nd place, but Antonio Felix da Costa has weathered the storm, if you like, thus far, hasn't he? And it looks as though he could be on here for his first DTM win.
Yes. So Antonio Felix da Costa then leading Augusto Farfus, Marco Wittmann, and then we get this intriguing battle for P6 between Pascal Wehrlein and Matthias Ekstrom as we see Nico Müller out of the car.
So his race done, and he came to grief with Max Goetz, who got into the back of him coming out of the Tarzan hairpin. And even though the contact never looks that great, it does so much damage to the aero and to the bits you can't see underneath the bodywork that these are effectively single-seaters with a roof on. It does so much damage, your race is run after relatively innocuous-looking contact. The leading quartet over the line, lead gap again hovering around the 3-second mark. Farfus looking close enough to think about making a move, but mindful that he doesn't want to take both of them off, so he needs to try to force a mistake out of da Costa, who doesn't look like he's ready to crack, does he? He's not put a wheel wrong.
No, he hasn't. You're quite right.
Ekstrom right on the back of Wehrlein now, and then behind him you've got Vitoris. Tombe going well still, 9th. Paffett is 10th. Is 11th. That's not done yet either, is it?
No, for sure. Matthias Ekstrom is going to have a go at Pascal Wehrlein as he tries to make that Mercedes ahead as wide as possible. Pascal Wehrlein then, who is running in P6. Then it is Matthias Ekstrom, who is P7, going to desperately try and find a way past. And Gary Paffett having a look now at the Audi of Adrien Tombe.
It was here he came to grief yesterday and ran wide at turn 7 at Chevrolet, but now as they work their way out of turn 8, Ekstrom on the tail, slightly different line, a wider approach. There's Paffett defending from Rockenfeller as well. So little battles within this gaggle, isn't it? Ekstrom has got the pace to get past Wehrlein. He might well have a run now, heading down to the Audi S. He comes out of the corner right on the tail. Which way does he go? Wehrlein, I suspect, will try and cover the inside line for the first element, but can Ekstrom get himself on the right line for the second? No opportunity there.
So for the moment, Ekstrom is denied, and now closing right onto the back is Christian Vittoris.
Which therefore distracts Ekstrom because he's got to go defensive, and it helps Wehrlein a little bit as well.
6 more laps, 6 more laps.
Ideally, Tombe would come up and threaten Vittoris. Leaders go through, and then this battle for 6th, 7th, 8th. Ekstrom has a look at the inside, and as he does so, he's got to defend from Vittoris as well.
Now, was that Pascal saying he got a problem?
It was.
Pascal, if you can control it, but be careful.
So whatever it is being told to control it, just be careful. So clearly Pascal Wehrlein with some issue with the car.
That's going to help Ekstrom, isn't it?
Well, it is. It's going to certainly hamper Pascal Wehrlein against the hard-charging Matthias Ekstrom, that's for sure.
And has Ekstrom shaken off Vittoris? Yes, he has, enough to concentrate his efforts on Wehrlein now. It could be Wehrlein's tyres going off. Remember, he's carrying a heavy weight.
Yes.
And he was an early stopper as well, and he's got Ekstrom right up behind him as Rockenfeller tries to get up the inside of Paffett. Once more, Ekstrom thinks about trying to make the move on the way down to the Audi S. Paffett's attacking and defending. He's sandwiched between the two Audis there, isn't he, in 10th place.
Yes, having to do both jobs, hunting and being hunted as well. He has Adrien Tombe ahead of him, and then a weathered eye on Mike Rockenfeller behind. So now Matthias Ekstrom not quite as close to Pascal Wehrlein as he has been at some turns. Matthias Ekstrom with, what have we got? Just under 6 minutes left to run. So Pascal being advised he's got 5 more laps to continue his stoic defence, if you like, against Matthias Ekstrom.
Just seen his wiper move coming down towards hairpin, and there are spots of rain, I reckon, on that camera lens. Have a look at that.
Whoa.
We've got some spots of rain. Maybe it's isolated at Tarzan, and whether they come to anything, I don't know, but it just looked, certainly is one car with a wiper, and now look on the pit wall, having a look to see if the spots of rain are coming elsewhere.
Well spotted there.
On that camera lens as
yes.
well, it's starting to sprinkle with rain. It's not enough to really wet the track yet. The wind has picked up once more. Temperatures are dropping. They'll still have enough warmth in the tyres to cope for now, but if this turns into a real deluge, with only 5 minutes to go, let's see where we go from here. Wehrlein pushing on as best he can, but clearly he's not got the pace anymore, has he? Because he's got them all queued up behind him.
Yes, he has, but, you know, despite that, none of them have been able to find a way past, have they? Lamb having a look out there as well, and you can see the extent of the wind. We can't see the extent of the rain quite yet, but you'd picked it up on the lenses of the cameras, and also Pascal Wehrlein using his wiper as now Christian Vittoris is really attacking Matthias Ekstrom. Ekstrom is having to divide his attention between attack and defence, and now at the moment it's very much defence mode from Christian Vittoris.
4 laps to go. We don't anticipate the weather to change suddenly.
So the message given to Antonio Felix da Costa that these spots of rain will become no worse, and he leads this BMW queue. Nobody within that train really being able to make a big move and gain ground. Down to the Hugenholz-Bocht they come. Get it wrong there on the way in, and you're in real strife because there's no runoff. Then the speed builds as they head up towards Hunsrück. 5th is still Wittmann, who is only 2.9 seconds back. Wehrlein is 6th. In 7th is Ekstrom. 8th Vittoris. 9th Tombe. 10th Paffett. They're the point scorers at the moment. I would say there are more spots of rain.
Got to agree with you. So there is race leader Antonio Felix da Costa.
Farfus again trying to harry da Costa enough to make a mistake. The team's being advised, by the way, that wet tyres are now admitted, so if they want to have a gamble, they can go onto wets, but with only 3 minutes plus a lap to go, yes. I don't think it's worth it. It's not amounting to anything. We're not even using the wipers largely, are they? The air pressure's just blowing any spots of rain off the windscreen as Glock comes down to the Audi S now.
So on board with Timo Glock, who is running in P4. This four-strong group of BMWs led by Antonio Felix da Costa, Augusto Farfus, then it's Bruno Spengler, then it is Timo Glock and Marco Wittmann, who's not really been able to get onto the back of that pack despite taking little chunks of time out. He's never joined that pack completely, has he?
Trouble is, when you thousandths or hundredths of a second, it's very, very hard to do it. Certainly it's looking bleaker at Tarzan, isn't it?
Yes.
More and more spots of rain fall, but these tyres with good working temperature in them still able to operate. And actually the lap times, although they've gone up, they've not gone up by much. We're in the mid-35s, whereas the best from early on was a low 33. They were lapping in the sort of 34s to low 35s a while ago. So yes, the lap times are going up by not by that much, relatively speaking.
And you made the point, though, the tyres very much up to temperature now, aren't they? And, well, they're certainly, I can't imagine with 2 minutes plus 1 lap left to run. Antonio Felix da Costa and Augusto Farfus, and there is an indicator of just how the wind is continuing to blow, and it's done that all race long, hasn't it?
But it's getting stronger and stronger all the time, isn't it now? Race leaders through. Farfus looks like he has the pace, like da Costa did yesterday, to find a way through. He just can't find a gap.
No. Wherever he tries to go, he has Antonio Felix da Costa absolutely doing a great job there out front. Antonio Felix da Costa running with that number 13 number, which is his elected DTM number, and the Red Bull livery, of course. So it is P1 at the moment for Antonio Felix da Costa. We're reaching the closing stages of this second of the 2 DTM races across weekends now. So 2 laps left to run for Antonio Felix da Costa, and now all of a sudden Augusto Farfus looks ever more lively. So he knows now if he wants to take the win, he is going to have to do something about it within the next 2 laps. So 2 more laps of hard defence from Antonio Felix da Costa. Bruno Spengler and Timo Glock P3 and P4, and Marco Wittmann some distance back before P5.
Wehrlein still 6th, half a second up on Ekstrom, who's certainly not given up, and nor has Farfus, as they go through the daunting turn 7 at Schevelach. And if that's getting slippery, you've got to be really careful there now. But it's getting gloomier, it's getting colder, it's getting windier, it's starting to spot with rain. And still, Antonio Felix da Costa with a bit of a twitch then as he puts down the power, leads the way.
Just wondered whether that car looked a bit skittish then, David.
Marginally, he's held it, and Farfus not able to capitalise. He still needs to try to make da Costa have a real mistake, make him thump a curb or run wide. But Farfus certainly looks like he's got the pace to stay on the back of da Costa. I think if that were a Mercedes or an Audi he were chasing, he would be a bit more cavalier about the approach. But he is being mindful of the fact that it's a BMW ahead of him, and it's the team result that they're all after as much as individual results. So here they come to start. The time is up.
So Antonio Felix da Costa starts the last lap of this race in the lead. Will Augusto Farfus have a final attempt to try and push him into making a mistake? So too will Matthias Ekstrom now on this last lap try and find a way past Pascal Wehrlein. I think he's too busy having to defend from Christian Vittoris, to be honest.
But 7th from 16th is a pretty good effort by Matthias. I know that other people have had dramas and you can buy some of those places almost on the pit stops, but it's been a good effort. And that never give up approach of Matthias Ekstrom pays dividends. As here's the leading 4 then. Antonio Felix da Costa is set to make history, isn't he, by having his first victory in the DTM. Augusto Farfus behind him as they work their way through turn 8. 3rd Spengler, 4th is Timo Glock, but a great drive, you've got to say, and an overdue success for Antonio.
He's looked very, very good all weekend long, and he's looking good at the moment. Antonio Felix da Costa then with 4/10 over Augusto Farfus. They're on their last lap. This DTM race as they head for home, and the checkered flag awaits Augusto Farfus. Into the S he goes, through there with no problems at all. It's another real domination from BMW, that's for sure. We saw it yesterday, and we're seeing it again today. So Antonio Felix da Costa then in the Red Bull liveried BMW does take his first DTM win as he weaves from side to side and takes the checkered flag.
Well done.
Great to get that team radio as he celebrates his first win. And the rest of the pack come past.
Thank you so much, guys. Danke sehr für Ihr Danke. Ich liebe CFF.
So all the team radio then, and Antonio Felix da Costa takes the win here at Zandvoort. And again, a really, really dominant performance from BMW. Charlie Lamb being congratulated there. Antonio Felix da Costa, Augusto Farfus, Bruno Spengler, Timo Glock, Marco Wittmann. Top 5 places going the way of BMW. Then it's Pascal Wehrlein for Mercedes-Benz. Then it's Matthias Ekstrom for Audi. And to the camera then, Antonio Felix da Costa gives us a thumbs up then. He has taken a win, and that was a great drive from him, David.
Didn't put a wheel wrong, as we said, despite the pressure, despite the changing conditions towards the end. And I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying he's the first ever Portuguese winner within the DTM. I can't think of anybody else from Portugal that's had a win in the DTM. So Antonio Felix da Costa takes the win, and no doubt Jens Marquardt of BMW Verena is delighted.
Oh, he is so delighted, that's for sure. After yesterday, who thought that you could do so well again, even though it's got to be said, instead of top 7 at the moment, you only have top, 5. But you can not be disappointed, obviously. It's absolutely amazing. How thrilled are you?
Well, I'm really excited. I mean, this was a tougher race today, obviously, with a pit stop and everything. But again, fantastic qualifying and then a super race result. Guys did really everything absolutely perfect. Was tough for Antonio out there with 4 guys behind him pushing. But yeah, he had a super quick car even without DRS, because obviously if you're leading, you're not having it. And I'm really proud of the whole team. They really did a great weekend here.
Congratulations, enjoy celebrating later on, and back to you guys.
Thanks very much, Verena. Well, suitably delighted is Jens Marquardt, and they were on board with Pascal Wehrlein, who finishes P6. Held off the charge from Matthias Ekstrom right until the very, very end. And this Antonio Felix da Costa weaving towards the checkered flag. Brilliant win for Antonio Felix da Costa, who's being congratulated there in car by teammates, and this a super slow-mo of that checkered flag falling for the first Portuguese winner in DTM, and certainly first win in DTM for Antonio Felix da Costa. And there is Jens Marquardt, absolutely thrilled with that.
And when you have had a good reputation in one category and you come to another in which you struggle, that win, when it finally comes, is all the sweeter, because it underlines the point that you've not lost your ability, you've not lost your touch, and adapting from single-seaters to a DTM-type car and a different racing environment is something that not everyone. And Antonio Felix da Costa celebrates that first victory, the first Red Bull BMW win as well, and the M4. The dominant car around Zandvoort. Now, are we looking at the resurgence of BMW in the championship, or is the success purely Zandvoort specific? We won't know until we get to the Red Bull Ring, and the undulations there are really going to affect things with the weight that some of the cars will carry.
Here is the order then. Antonio Felix da Costa taking the win from Augusto Farfus, Bruno Spengler, Timo Glock and Marco Wittmann, all BMW. Then it was Pascal Wehrlein, Matthias Ekstrom, Christian Vittoris, Adrian Tombe, Gary Paffett, Mike Rockenfeller and Miguel Molina occupying the top 12 places. Then it was Jamie Green, P13, Paul de Resta, Timo Scheider, Maximilian Gertz, Maxime Martin, Tom Blomqvist, Robert Wickens, Lucas Auer, and we lost the likes of Nico Muller and Eduardo Mortara, Danny Juncadea and Martin Tomczyk. And there is Augusto Farfus, his car behind Antonio Felix. climbs atop the BMW. Look at that pose. And jumps for joy.
It's been a long time coming, and he's beaten some of the best, hasn't he, in that, because you could argue that some of his teammates didn't attack as hard as they could had they driven for other manufacturers, but even so, Da Costa's drive was faultless. A brilliant start to lead early on, a great pit stop and a great second stint, and constantly he was always under pressure because he was never more than a second up the road, and largely it was less than half a second up the road, that gap.
You're absolutely right. So we take a look at the top three then. And P3 goes the way of the BMW Bank M4 DTM. That, the all-black machine of Bruno Spengler, taking P3 then in race 2 here at Zandvoort. P2 then, Augusto Farfus in his BMW M4 DTM.
And although he's not a winner this weekend, he too will be pleased that he's back near the front after a really barren start to the year.
Faultless drive, though, from this man, Antonio Felix da Costa, taking his first win in DTM.
He hadn't even scored points up until yesterday. He got his first podium yesterday and his first win today. How about that? The Red Bull BMW M4 is victorious. Antonio Felix da Costa, the winner at Zandvoort.
I think it's fair to say he's pretty chipper about that, isn't it? So he jumps for joy off the car.
Down he gets, and a rather grey North Sea is the backdrop to Jamie Green hanging on to his championship lead despite not scoring in either race. But look at this now, equal second, Matthias Ekström and Pascal Wehrlein, and they're only points back. Red Bull Ring's going to be a thriller, isn't it?
It is. So looking forward to that. That's where we go next. Of course, the Red Bull Ring, Spielberg, Austria for the next round of the DTM. Jamie Green then still atop the points chart from Matthias Ekström, Pascal Wehrlein, Edo Mortara, Robert Wickens, and then Bruno Spengler, P6 in the points. So celebrations continuing here. And there, the family of Augusto Farfus,
who's going to be in the Spa 24 Hours in the next couple of weeks for the Mart VDS team, along with Maxime Martin for the BMW Z4s that the squad runs. They're busy on ELMS duty this weekend. Timo Glock, best result of the year, 4th place. And that really was done by a good pit stop strategy. In early, out of traffic, qualifying laps. Same principle, of course, for Jamie Green, but it didn't work for Jamie in the same way, did it?
No. Some super slow-mos there of the Hankooks tearing up the tarmac in the pit lane.
And so the drivers now will make their way up towards the podium. We'll have a chance to hear from them as well. Verena will be down there. And Pascal Wehrlein, 6th place. He's now tied on points with Matthias Ekström. Now, Augusto Farfus, 2nd. Let's hear from him. Verena?
Congratulations to a well-deserved 2nd place, but you were breathing down Antonio's neck. Was there nothing you could do? You were trying so hard, pushing so hard.
Yeah, we had, I think, maybe a slightly faster car today. But here it's difficult to overtake without taking any risk. I mean, Antonio drove an excellent race. I think I had a little bit more on the pocket, to be honest. But here with the downforce, it's just difficult to try a safe maneuver. And we were doing brilliant this weekend, so there was no for a victory. I think BMW did again an awesome race. So I'm pleased to be back on podium to show some speed again. So now we keep focused forward.
All right, well, congratulations, and back to you guys.
So Augusto Farfus takes 2nd spot, 0.4 of a second adrift at the end. Danny Juncadella surviving his big scare during the course of the race in the Mercedes. One of, in the end, 4 retirements, the others being Nico Müller, Edo Mortara and Martin Tomczyk, and Tomczyk with the damage to the bodywork, visibility being a problem as much as that lifting off the car and affecting all the aero, having to park it. And the battle was between him and Molina, and he got shoulder charged a little bit, and then others came up to attack him. But we had some great battles, 1 or 2 not so great moves. Tom Blomqvist's attack on Robert Wickens, and of course Tom Blom this drive-through penalty, and Robert Wickens absolutely furious, as you can see, kept his foot on the floor, lit up the rear tyres and stormed back into Wickens in the end 19th, Blomqvist in fact 18th. He did get back ahead of him and pull away, but a rather dispirited Robert Wickens ended up 19.5 seconds behind Blomqvist by the end of the race. And Pascal Wehrlein tried hard early on, didn't he, with the Mercedes, getting up alongside Miguel Molina. Molina in the end, 12th. That car, I suspect, struggling towards the end after the number of rubs it had had. It would have had the aero affected, and so that car fell away as the race wore on, down in 12th place, out of the points. But the Farfus family happy. Dad took second place. A win would have been better, but it's been a very disappointing start to the season. But the Brazilian beaten by the Portuguese driver, Antonio Felix da Costa. The victory leap off the top of the car. BMW celebrations on the pit wall. So, da Costa, Farfus, another podium finish. The top three: Glock, Wittmann 4-5 for BMW, Mercedes 6, Wehrlein, Audi 7, Ekstrom, and Antonio Felix da Costa makes his way for the first time in his DTM career to the top step of the podium. And the first Portuguese victor in the DTM's long history is joined by Augusto Farfus, and then he'll be joined by Bruno Spengler in third place as part of what has been a BMW Blitz at Zandvoort.
So all three then atop the podium. National anthem now for Antonio Felix da Costa. So the Hankook first hat goes on. And Mr. Jürgen Blomers, the Global Marketing Director there, making the trophy presentation. And how pleased is he with that trophy? Fantastic. Peter Balkenende, the former Prime Minister of the Netherlands, makes the trophy presentation there to the teams. As much a victory for the team as it is, of course, for the driver, Charlie Lamb. And Peter Dorn, the chairman of NAF, making a trophy presentation there to Augusto Farfus for P2. And Bruno Spengler then, P3. So what a ballistic result for BMW. As they all get together for the photographs now atop the podium. So looking forward to the next round of the DTM at the Red Bull Ring. All the information, of course, check it out at DTM.com. Time for the champagne then. And the celebration's going to be good here. Charlie there taking defensive action, looking, putting the hood up. Fantastic. He's not going to get away with it. Great celebrations to see. Great result for BMW here at Zandvoort. And the bottle's being shared with the teams. So the 1, 2, 3, and there some slow-mos of the celebrations going on. And the corks being popped. Well, Antonio Felix da Costa is going to remember that for a very long time to come. Bruno Spengler is with Verena now. A happy man.
He's a happy man. He's smiling. Bruno, you were fighting really hard. Happy with your third place?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, the start was not perfect. I did not get a good launch out of the first row. But anyway, I managed to stay second. And then after in the race, I was behind Felix and maybe a little bit quicker, but difficult to overtake. And then we were a little bit unlucky in the pit stop because we had to wait before releasing me because of risk of unsafe release. But the guys did actually a great pit stop, but we just had to wait a bit to not risk the unsafe release. So I lost the position because of that. But anyway, 1, 2, and 3 for BMW today is really great, and I'm happy to be on the podium, and it's good points.
Congratulations again, and now grab the man of the weekend. Antonio, congratulations. Yesterday was your best result, second place, but now you topped it, first victory, and actually the first victory of a Portuguese ever in the DTM. So could you be any happier?
No, not really. I mean, it's a dream weekend. I mean, we had a very good day yesterday with the second place, just there about to win the race. And today our mindset, everybody really wanted this hard, and we proved it. You know, we did it when it mattered in qualifying, get that track position, which is very important. And then tire management was key today. I was really trying to taking it easy during the whole race and only push whenever I needed to, you know, to make sure that nobody would dive on my inside. And what a day. Thank you, BMW, Red Bull. Perfect combination. Thank you.
Congratulations, and now I guess you're going to take the wings to Spielberg in 3 weeks. So until then, see you then. Bye. Was für ein fantastisches Wochenende für BMW und auch Wochenendes steht direkt neben mir Antonio Felix da Costa und er muss natürlich so glücklich sein über seinen ersten Sieg. How excited are you about your first victory?
Oh, it's speechless at the moment. It's great weekend, double podium. I think the only driver to have a double podium this weekend. So, you know, we had the right mindset after yesterday. Everybody wanted this very hard. The team did a great job on the pit stop, and I'm just happy to finally prove that we've been working hard and make something count. So it's very special.
Absolutely, you certainly proved it. Vielen Dank und ja, seine Flügel nimmt er ganz bestimmt mit nach Österreich in 3 Wochen am Red Bull Ring. Bis dann, tschüss. Dankeschön. Cool, dann haben wir es. Können wir mal eben...